Welcome to the Politics People. My guest today is a world-renowned motivational speaker, award-winning filmmaker and human rights activist, also a self-described female who lives as a man. I'm talking to Buck Angel. Thank you so much for doing this.
Hi, Paul. Thanks so much for having me. I'm super excited to have a conversation.
Oh, well, yeah, you've come to the wrong place for that. I don't know if you've listened to any of the other podcasts. It's just, what I was hoping to do was just sit back and you just like read out your autobiography and then we can
Oh my God, everyone. Dude, we don't have conversations anymore. So I was excited to have a conversation, but okay.
So you are absolutely massive and famous, and it really is a privilege to get you on today. But when you, right, I'm not being indelicate, but we're not, we're about the similar age, I think. We're both of the 60s. Your transition, your self-ID, your whatever we want to call your kind of journey, when you went through it, again, being a similar age, it didn't feel political. Are you amazed now that something that you did for a social level, on a personal level or a sexual level has turned into like the hot political button?
I'm actually speechless. I'm laughing, honestly, but I'm not really laughing. It's actually not funny what's happening. And it's actually scaring me as an older transsexual person who transitioned so many years ago in order to save my life. And not to say that some people aren't doing that, they are, but they're not the ones who are speaking up. They're not the ones who are, creating this very huge lie and this very huge sort of schism in our own community. And we've been overtaken by some kind of ideology. It's actually real and it's scary. And so for me, I can't. I'm actually speechless. It doesn't make sense to me. And I don't know how everyone else is on board with it. Like, how is actual people who aren't even trans on board with what's happening? That is really a huge question to me, because you can see it's not working.
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, if it's not a rhetorical question, it's like people do enjoy a religious cult, don't they? They do enjoy jumping on any kind of identity. I mean, I think that I'm not going to wax lyrical, but I've got lots of theories about we are so privileged and entitled in the West that the further you get away from having to survive every day, the more you can contemplate your own navel. And so we're all to some extent, we are all now Caligula or Emperor Nero. We don't have to go out hunting every day. So we kind of go, oh, well, maybe I am more interesting and this is my identity. So I think what you're saying, Buck, is that we need another Vietnam to clear their numbers out. It's just like that's really what you're advocating.
Well, yeah, I'm advocating for truth, and I'm advocating for not only truth, but justice, because I'm going to tell you right now, I'm mad. And when you get me mad, now you can't stop me. And so when I have people in my own community, I'm doing the quotes community because it's no longer that. It's sad. It's sad to me because I really love being in a community. And so when I have people coming at me saying the things they're saying when they say they're trans, that's right there. You can just prove these people are not trans. Nobody in their right mind would attack me in our community the way they have and call me names and, that I'm trans, literally calling me transphobic.
Yeah. You're transphobic. I know. Exactly. I love that.
I love it too, because I'm like, really? I transitioned 30 years ago. Then I have to throw it in their face. Like, I transitioned at a time when we didn't have what you guys have. Like, I didn't have anything, no internet, no nothing. I literally went at it with like, on some level blind and just doing what I needed to do to stay alive. That's why I take offense to it, my friend, because I did it seriously so that I would not kill myself. And I don't think that's what's happening anymore. It's happening as an identity choice. This is not an identity choice. This is a medical condition that I got diagnosed, that I have to get medical help to move forward, to identify and look at me. Do I look like a man or do I look like a woman? What do I look like?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So that's the whole point of transitioning, to look like the opposite sex you want to be. I am not a biological man, but I want to look like a biological man. It's so simple and easy. And, the world has always been so great to me, but now they hate us. They hate us because these people are using my disorder in a means and a way to make a political and also I believe it is financial. I do believe there's money attached to this.
Well, we only do things that work for us, don't we? And so,
Yeah. Yeah.
that's just on a human level. It's look, without being dismissive. And again, I'm actually not that sensitive around any subject at all. I think it's like I'm not that afraid of. Like, I don't even understand why this topic has got some reverence around it. But it's just like it's a coincidence that we had a glut of anorexics at one point, and then a glut of bulimics, and then a glut of self-harmers. And so, never bet on anything that can think, I think is the point.
Right.
But it is just this this fascinating kind of period we've got to. I mean, look, you probably know the statistics greater than I do. 78% of all children that identify as trans as children don't as adults.
See that? And see that, my friend. And also, what does this even mean? Let's just talk about this for a minute. What does that even mean? A trans kid, right? So was I a trans kid in the 60s, or was I just a kid who was dealing with some stuff going on with me and I felt like a boy, right? I did. I felt like I wanted to be a boy and I hung out with the boys. We used to call that tomboys. And my sisters were the exact same way. No, and all my friends, not one of them transitioned, not one, only me. So, I can show you. Yeah, because now I really do believe on some level we have influence through social media. It's a contagion. It's, kids see things. We all know that kids see things, they want it. It's complicated.
Yeah, well, there are stats on there, aren't there? That girls are more likely to transition if somebody in their peer group transitions, for instance, or choose to transition. That's right. No, I think that, I mean, again, there is a kind of sanctity to this, and people are. It is a religious mania. That's all I can see it as. And we've had that through millennia. And it's so fascinating that this stuff usually goes hand in hand with some kind of atheism or agnosticism. And yet the human animal wants to create a religious fervor.
Wow.
Communism and
no, it's true. People, especially the younger generation now is being completely swayed by this whole false narrative. And that's why I had to step up, Paul, because I cannot, as an elder in this community and somebody who it saved my life, and I will advocate for transitioning for the right person forever because they should have the same opportunity I had. But what I will not advocate for is lying, deceit, trying to make us something we are not. Honesty is everything. And I believe in honesty, and I teach my child honesty, and I try to teach the world. I'm honest about who I am. I'm a biological female. It's so what if you don't want to accept it? That's fine, but it's how you move. Why are we lying, Paul? This is what I want to know. Why does my community feel that they need to lie and cheat and steal in order to create a space for them to move forward? That's the part of the problem I have with it. It's not being honest.
I'd say again, if it's not a rhetorical question, I'm nothing if not an ill-educated blowhard. I think it's interesting that you get somebody like you and Caitlyn Jenner, who both achieve outside the transition, and that's the word I'll use. So you actually have like business achievements. You have to plug into the market, into some kind of honesty. You have to. I mean, look, you've got an array of merchandise behind you. You were working and selling before you ever changed your identity. And so did Caitlyn. Caitlyn Jenner had to go and win the decathlon, etc. The point is, if you have zero in your life and then you latch on to one bit of cult fervor, it's like the idea with anorexia. It's about being able to control something in one's life.
Yes.
Then you can buy an identity off the wall. You're not an athlete. You don't actually have to have any outside semblance of achievement. You can immediately buy an identity and a community, if you like, off the shelf. And I think that's been the great danger with the self-ID, because it obviously opens itself up to absurdity, but it helps delude the easily deluded. It's just like I said, you'd be a successful business person no matter what your particular sexual gender or proclivity might be. You'd be a successful business person. So this is just, anyway, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but that's how it strikes me if it's not a rhetorical question.
No, you hit it on the head, and that's what I'm trying to teach this generation that feels like identifying as trans is going to change their whole world, or having your breasts removed at 16 is going to change your whole world, or, you know, taking testosterone at 16 or 17. It's not. It's actually going to make it worse if you don't understand why you are doing it. There's trauma. There was trauma attached to my transition, 100%, no doubt about it. But I transitioned at the age of 30. Okay. I did not transition at the age of 10 or 17 or even 20. You know, come on. We're acting like 20-year-olds can just make solid choices in their life. I don't know what you did at 20, but I can tell you at 20, I would have never made the right choice at that time. And why are we not being honest to these kids? It's just, I'm here for the kids, just so you know. I don't care what adults do. They can make bad choices if they don't do the research, but children can't make those choices without adults helping them create that space. And adults are failing them right now. We are failing children by sending them through a medicalized system at such an early age. That is disgusting.
Oh, absolutely. Well, being an adult used to be an identity. You know, being a child used to be an identity, and that it is no longer. It's extraordinary to me that, you know, we are watching absolute child abuse. Do you think that there's a difference between the male to female and female to male communities?
Oh, 100%. 100%, my friend, because you have to understand, I was socialized as a female. And so for 30 years of my life, I lived as a female, which means I had a different experience than you, all right, growing up and being that. Same with a trans woman. She has been socialized as a male, which is a whole other space. You get a different way of being. So now these biological men who are transitioning to live as women, all respect right there if you want to do that. But what I don't respect is when you lie, and they're lying about stuff, and they're doing things that are not healthy for our community. And so I do think the narrative is all about trans women. You know that that trans men, very, very few of us get to have a voice in this. It's all trans.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. And do you feel you personally have got dragged in? Because as we kicked off, it's just like, you know, you got in for all sorts of reasons. The culture was completely different when you transitioned. Do you feel like you've been reluctantly dragged into this as a political debate?
Oh, totally. And on some level, I haven't been. I actually wanted to come into it, but reluctantly, I wanted to come into it. So I waited. Now I'm mad at myself. I'll be honest. I think I waited too long because I said, "Oh, wait, this is weird." Transitioning kids. I saw it happening like, gosh, maybe even 10 years ago, maybe, and then 5 years ago, I was like, this is quite fascinating to me that we're giving children puberty blockers. What? And there was no information on it. There was only positive information. There was no other side. And I'm like, there's got to be another side to this. There's no medicine on the face of the earth that has just positive, right? Nothing. You can always find the negative effects to a medication. So that's when my sort of, you know, my red flag went up when I started seeing the kids getting sort of lured into this, and they said trans kids, and I'm like, what do you mean trans kids? These kids are kids who have dysphoria, or they have some kind of mental thing going on. The fact that you're labeling them trans kids straight out the gate, that was the turning point for me, because I was like, that feels like indoctrination. That doesn't feel like a safe medical space.
Do you remember just before the trans thing became the hot topic, it was Indigo Kids? Do you remember them?
Oh, that's right. Yeah. Or there's always a fad. Come on, I was a punk rocker. But you didn't, like, you just cut your hair and, you know, like made mohawks and
well, the connection I was going to make was there's always fads, but I would say things like the Indigo Kids and a lot of other, I'm not going to get myself into trouble with the medicalizing, but they're like stage moms and stage parents. Yes, what are they? Yes. What do they? They're induced by the parents. The parents have often got some kind of shortage of achievement that they want to fulfill and live vicariously through their child. That's the connection I see.
Yeah, on some level, but not all, because I do know some parents, and parents actually reach out to me a lot, confused, don't know what's going on. What do I do, Buck? And it's a very horrible space for a parent. I'm a parent, so I couldn't even imagine if my 10-year-old was like, I'm trans. Like, what does that even mean? And how does a 10-year-old even get that language, right? I never said I was trans when I was 10. I said I was a boy. So that's where I'm also like, wait a minute here. They're giving them this language. And so then they're celebrating their trans kid. I'm totally on board with you, my friend. Like, who puts their kid on the internet celebrating? What if the kid changes their mind in 10 years and you put them all over the internet? How rude and disrespectful of you as a parent. But that being said, there are parents who don't do that and really do care about their child and really do feel lost. And when their doctor is telling them your child will kill themselves if you don't, blah, 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 that narrative, what is a parent supposed to do? So I have empathy for these parents because they feel lost and they're not really sure. But then we have Munchausen parents. For sure, we have Munchausen who are displaying their children, using them as a sort of cool thing to be, I think.
No, absolutely. Well, that's how. Like I said, I'm such a layman in this area, and that's why it's fascinating to talk to you or just anybody that's actually been in the minds for this whole thing. I mean, you've been through. Like I said, what I love about you, and I'll tell you what the best thing about you is the fact that if this political thing hadn't happened, you are such a kind of relatable, in my opinion, 80s kind of sensibility,
Right on.
Like I said, you turned it into motivational speaking. You've turned it into porn as well, obviously, but merchandise, and it's for me, you almost have this feeling with you of being sort of like a reluctant 80s prize fighter brought out to come and make these stupid arguments when you should just be actually cashing in on your genius and uniqueness. You know what I mean? So I really like it from that cultural point of view is the point, almost more than the political, because the political argument has to collapse up within the weight of its own absurdity.
That's right. That's right. Well, I mean, I'm so mad that I'm a political space now. How can I have a disorder, Paul? It's not like I don't want anybody to have any disorder. It's not. Yeah. So this is what I keep telling the world. They want those new trans people. I always call them the new trans people. They want to take disorder out of the book. They want to say that I don't have a disorder and that this isn't a mental illness so that, anyone can self-ID as trans. Will you see what's happening now? This is what I said. You will ruin everything for people like me. I need my medicine. I need my disorder because once I got diagnosed, I was like the happiest person in the world because I was like, oh, I get it. This is the problem. It's like being diagnosed with anything, right? When your stomach hurts and you're like, oh, well, you have, acid, whatever. You're like, oh, I get it now. My disorder is important to me because it lets me move forward and not be stuck back here. Now I'm a part of society. Like you said, I create, I participate, I'm in it. And that was my goal, was to become a part of society, not against society. And that's what I want people to see. People like me, there's many of us out there. We just want to change. We just want to be with you. We want to coexist in the world. We want to be successful, have families, walk the world. That's why you need to see the difference between those people and us. Those people don't represent us, but now we're stuck in that kind of weird space with these weirdos who are they've literally co-opted our community for a political and financial space.
Yeah, I would correct one thing. Nobody wants to be with me. I'll be honest with you. It's a lovely gesture, but honestly, you'd be the first. But you are a first in many ways. That would be another notch on your belt. But the no, what's again, because you 60s and 80s and all that. Did you ever suffer from I'm an amazingly white potato of a straight person from my side of the fence? Did you ever deal with the same kind of bile and criticism from my lot as you have from I don't want to say woke because it's overused, but sort of your seemingly side of the fence? Was it ever an equivalent kind of hatred and criticism from my lot as it is from your lot?
Of course, I do get it from all sides. I won't lie about that. Of course, there's going to be people on the other side that, who aren't even in the community, but think what I did is so insane, right? And you're just a lady. You'll always be a woman. I'm like, oh gosh, why do you have to just do that, man? And the thing is, I'm smarter than that. I know what's going on there. So, I do get it from all sides, but I'll be honest with you. I get more love from people like you than I do from the trans community. That should say a lot. that should say a lot right there. And there are many of us in this community who have been around for a long time who are being pushed out because we're going against that. But I would say I have built a space in the world that I've been very lucky because people do respect my voice, even though they don't necessarily agree with my particular things that I do, like pornography or work around that stuff. But that's okay. I don't care. I don't think everybody should be okay with pornography. But that being said, I think because I'm honest, like I will always go back to honesty. I'm that guy who believes that I don't need to hide from you. I don't need to hide why I did this, who I am, what I do in the world, and then that creates a bridge between me and you. I'm about building bridges. We don't have to live together, but we have to sort of learn how to walk the bridge together.
Oh, completely. Did you lose actual friends because you wouldn't get on board this new religious cult fervor?
Oh my God. Yes, Paul, I did. And that was actually probably one of the saddest things for me. Friends I thought were smarter than that. They probably think the same about me, right? They think I'm, Buck's going against the whole, I see it all the time. Buck's going against the community. Buck is detrimental to the survival of the trans. Buck is a transphobe. Buck is a TERF. I see it all the time and my friends like literally block me or say things to me and challenge me on the internet without having like what, if me and you are friends, let's have the conversation off the internet first, right? So we can figure it out as we do as friends. But no, they blast me on Twitter. And I'm like, what? Wow, dude, you're like my friend. You're literally putting me on blast, which I won't stand for. If you know me, I will blast you back. So that's why you got, anyway, yeah, I have. And it just makes me see how deep this ideology has come around and infiltrated the community, and people who I shocked would ever even think that way about children.
Yeah, well, that's a recurring theme with your kind of politics. It is it's the children, it's the transitioning, the medicalizing of the transitioning of children.
Yep,
seems to be your bugbear, and has actually brought you into the fight.
Well, because I'm a parent, right? And I have a 10-year-old, and I coach soccer, and I'm around kids all the time. I love kids. I think kids are awesome. And the future is kids. And so who's guiding the kids? As a parent, you have a very important space in this world, and that's to create a great adult. And so I don't want to lose sight of that. And so when I see kids who are transitioning who should not, I just believe I don't believe in transitioning children. I just don't. And I'm allowed to have that opinion as a transsexual person, but for some reason they don't think I'm allowed to have that, and that I'm being transphobic for saying that. But you know what's going to happen, Paul, which is horrible to even say? I'm going to end up being right. I know it, because we're going to have such a backlash. Yep.
Oh, it's a done deal. I mean, the idea that there's a debate is just for the birds. It really is. There's actually, I think, too much tolerance on the side of the Nazis like me. It's just like we've created we've created such a vacuum that's being filled with, I think, people of ill will. Actually, I think there's been a lot of opportunists, and a lot of that human nature we talked about at the beginning that will come and take advantage. And I just thought we were at a good place before the self-ID kind of culture came in, because people were frankly tolerated. I mean, this is why the good thing is, I think a lot of this argument coming from that side, and I don't know how to sweepingly generalize their name, but the trans lobby, the TRAs,
right?
A lot of their argument isn't landing, because we've all come through the 80s and the 90s, and it's really, I mean, I literally don't know any racists. I'm the most conservative person I know. I don't know any racists. I don't know any homo. I don't know anybody that goes, I couldn't be around that person because they're black, or I couldn't be around that person. It's so unlikely that any of the criticism is founded, that what you actually see, it gives you objectivity to be able to see people are actually going through something emotional like a religious fervor, as opposed to landing any kind of blows against an intolerant society. I know I waffle on, but that's what gets me about it. It's just like, what it feels like we're trying to get a drunk friend in the back of a car to get them home. It's just like, we love you. we love you, but you're just for your own good. Just let's get you home and get some coffee in you. Do you know what I mean?
Well, and then let's just talk about women here for a minute, because I do want you to know that my fight not only is with the children, but also for women's space. And, I'm born biological female. I lived half my life as a woman. This is a very important part of my story that I will never let go of, because I learned a lot about myself living as a gay woman. And I love the experience, and I'm glad I got the experience living in that space. And so that being said, I know how important that space is for gay women and for women to just have. And so when we have trans women coming in, and these are those wing nutty ones, they're not the ones that are my friends, or these are the ones who are literally using the trans space for some weird fetish, or, I mean, for example, we have that woman in Canada with the gigantic boobs. I mean, come on, man. Why are we all pretending like that's normal? We know it's not. It's insulting. It is actually insulting to actual real transsexual people. We don't do those kinds of things. Can you imagine if I put a huge, gigantic, like, penis in my pants that's like 500 pounds and walked around like, what are you looking at? None of us would ever do that. So you're bringing attention to yourself. And so I think what's happening is that these people are overriding for their own self gratification. They need this in order to be able to do their fetish or do their thing without anybody pushing back on them, because they can use the trans narrative. You see, now they can't even kick that teacher out because she's trans, right? So what is that? That is the most absurd, insane thing I've ever, like, I don't know.
Well, I've heard, and it could just be a rumor, and obviously this podcast is now for the ages, and so we'll see if it plays out that way. If you're listening to this in the Smithsonian in 50 years, it means that your Walkman's busted. But I've heard that person is actually pushing for a lawsuit, because technically they are within the bounds of what is acceptable. And so I think it's November that they're waiting to actually convene on the matter. And I believe that it's almost, anyway, that's the rumor, is that it is an attempt at a lawsuit. So one can retire.
Well, there you go. And that should make my community so upset beyond belief. That person is not trans. I'll tell you that right now. They're doing all this in order to create, there's the fetishes. Sometimes people like to be looked at, right? They just love it. They eat it up. So that's obvious what's going on there. But now this really ridiculous school system is saying a teacher can dress like that, but students can't. Like, what? So now, that's just absurd and weird, and doesn't make none of it makes sense. None of it. But it's going to cause a huge backlash now. And that's what I'm trying to say, is these people are using our space, and then they're mocking women. That is a mockery of women. How dare you? And then women are just supposed to sit down and shut up. No way, man. Women have fought for their rights. I've fought for women's rights. So don't try it. We are not going to sit down and shut up, and neither am I. And it's as a trans person, you are in a very small minority of the world. You have to come to the world in a way that makes the world want to come to you. You cannot come to the world with your fist and punching the face of everybody. You have to come to the world with your hand open and say, look, I want to join in. I want to coexist with you. I do not want to take your space, but that's not what's happening. They want to literally take over women's space. And so that's why it will never work. I've only ever come to you with my hand open. May I join you? Please, can I be part of the male space? And no men have ever said no to me, ever, because I don't want to take your space. I just want to be there. And if you're uncomfortable with me, I will leave, because I don't want to be that person who I don't need to make discomfort. I need to make comfort in the world. That's the complete opposite of what these people are doing.
I know, and isn't it remarkable that you have to state something as obvious as that, or even just delineate it like as a trans person? That's just people. Yep. You want to enter any group at all. It's like, that's kind of just manners. This is why it's like...
I grew up with manners. My parents were very strict about thank you, no, thank you. And thank God that they taught me that. It's been huge for me to have manners and to understand respect and to understand, certain ways of being. And so these people these people are entitled. They are the most entitled. And remember what I said before, these were men who decided that they wanted to be women. So don't ever forget that part of this message. They're coming to it in a different way of being, which is the way men act.
Oh, listen, that's the one that hits it on the head for me. It's just like, the irony of this whole debate at the moment is that they behave very much like men. That's exactly what men do. And like, as the leader of all potato-based men in the world, I'm going like, that's what I would do. Do you know what
That's
I mean?
right. That's right. Get out of my way, lady. I'm going to the toilet, whether you like it or not.
So,
like, what?
Man-spreading is bad if you identify as a man, but man-spreading is perfect now if you identify as a... It's absolutely incredible.
Brilliant.
It's incredible. The inconsistency.
Incredible. It's incredible, my friend. That's why, hello, people out there, knock, 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 wake up. You are allowed to oppose this, okay? I'm going to give you permission. As a transsexual man, I need you. I actually am putting a call out to you. We all need to stand up against this. It's hurting not only me and my actual real community, but it's hurting you. And I don't understand why we're all so scared to push back on this nonsense. We are going to regret it. We are going to regret so much. So many kids are going to be actually hurt physically. I'm not even just talking mentally, physically. You can go to any detransitioner group and you can read the stories of young girls, okay? Because most of this is happening to young girls.
Absolutely.
So think about this. So the voices of trans women who are biological men becoming women, and they're the most powerful voice, yet most of the kids who are transitioning are young girls. So why are trans women having even a conversation about this? You don't get to talk. These are young girls, and you don't even understand what that means. And so I'm just going to say a call out there. If we don't start to stand up against this, we are going to have so many young girls who are so messed up for the rest of their life. And who's going to take care of these kids? Who's going to do that? Nobody. Watch. We'll just pretend like they never existed before.
Absolutely. No, it is. It is like the mass indoctrination. It's got undertones to me of all the kind of unwed mothers that were shipped off to convents or their children taken to Australia. It's this state-imposed indoctrination, this state-imposed judgment about the medicalizing of children. It's so inhuman and so unfamily based. But it can only be short-lived. It's not going to. We got caught on the hop. We got caught unawares, and the minute people started many people still don't even know this thing is happening.
No, they don't.
The more that are becoming aware, the more it's like, oh well, we need to. It's almost like putting a cover on the hole on the Death Star. It's just like, well, why have you left that open? Blow the whole planet up.
Oh my God! The minute people know that these kids are doing that, when I tell people, they're like, "What?" They freak. So
yes, exactly.
So thank you, Paul, again for having me on, so that people can, who probably don't know who I am, can actually hear from a real transsexual person. Like, whoa, this is not real. This cannot be happening. We cannot do this to kids. I don't care. We cannot do this to kids.
Have you personally, has this altered any of your other politics? I don't know what your politics were before.
Great question. I was a complete total liberal. I wouldn't say I was ever a left woke. I was never that, right? But I'm a liberal for sure. But I've moved. I'm no longer a Democrat. I'm literally out of that space. But I'm not a Republican. My whole family is that. But I would say I'm more really middle ground. And I'm not sure if it also has to do with my age and seeing things. And
just make a note of that.
Yeah,
I'll just make a note. Trump supporter. Okay, so I'm just.
My dad would be so happy.
We're both in LA, right? You're in LA.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, we are the Trump voters. That's what you're saying.
Right on.
It's you and me. Now, listen, I'm going to let you get back to your much more exciting life than mine. And what you've achieved in your life is extraordinary, and there'll be links in the podcast. But the most exciting thing about you, apart from your years of advocacy and your transition and your merchandise, you were an eyewitness to the dog napping of Lady Gaga's dogs.
Oh my God, Paul, you're hilarious. We got to have coffee, by the way. That being said, yeah, it was right in front of my house. Like I heard the screaming. I went out because, oh God, LA's out of control. You know that. So I go, oh, I heard sounded like a lady. And I went outside and then I saw bam, 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 3 shots. I was like, I got on the ground, called 911. They're like, get in the house. The police showed up in like literally 2 seconds. And the guys got the dogs and took off, and they shot the dog walker, which we know because he lives in our neighborhood. And yeah, it was so insane. Like, and then the news just every day at my house, every day. So I took it, I took it back. PR.
Yeah, no,
Right
I mean, on top of everything else, it's LA. You never miss an opportunity.
That's right. I'm like, oh, okay, sure, I'll do every station.
BLM riots, I'm there.
That's right, totally. It's so good.
Oh, mate, listen, you're just absolutely extraordinary. Huge fan, huge admirer.
you.
I can't thank you enough for coming on my lowly podcast. And it's yeah, well, anyway, yeah, your career will suffer a nosedive after this. That's all I can tell you.
Ain't possible. Warned. Can't cancel me. That's my mantra right there. Can't cancel me. I won't get, but never will it get into my brain ever. And I'm not cancelable. It's not going to happen.
Good.
So nobody should ever.
What are you up to next?
I'm writing my book right now, and I'm really pumping my YouTube channel because I'm bringing all kinds of guests from the community who don't get a voice. And I swear, you mark my words right here, I am going to make a breakthrough with all of these voices because I'm bringing voices that don't get an opportunity, just like me. I'm not the only one. There are thousands of us, if not hundreds of thousands, who are against this. So, I just appreciate you a lot, Paul, for giving me the space to have a conversation that says, wait a minute, there's not right stuff happening here.
Yeah, bless you. Well, ditto. Well, look, we'll meet at the next MAGA rally.
Right on. Hilarious.
I'll see. It's literally just me and you. That's it.
Right on.
Well, we're the only out ones,
That's true.
So the number of people, though, is true, but the number, I don't know whether we know the same people, but the number of really like Hollywood lefties that will call me and kind of go like, well, I can't say it publicly. But,
that's right. Oh no, I get it all the time. Same with trans people telling me, oh dude, keep saying it. I can't do it. Which I do know. There are people who actually can't because maybe they do lose their job.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
I do get it. I'm in a great space that you cannot come after me. And that's why they're scared of me, right? Yeah. You're scared of the person who will not stop. And that's me. I will not stop for the kids. I will be here until the end of this nightmare is over.
God love you. Well, that's perfect. Thank you very much, Buck Angel.